Respect is one of those things we all want, yet very few truly understand how it works. Too often people believe respect is tied to a job title, a uniform, or a position of authority. They assume that once they step into a role, respect automatically follows. But anyone who has worked under a bad manager or seen a leader who mistreats others knows that a title can demand obedience, but it cannot command respect. Respect is not handed out like a paycheck. It is not something you inherit from status, wealth, or influence. Respect is the quiet acknowledgement that others give you based on the way you consistently show up in the world. It's measured not by how loud your voice is, but by how deeply your actions resonate with others. Think about it when someone walks into a room and carries themselves with integrity, humility, and confidence. You feel it before they even speak. You don't respect them because of what's on their business card. You respect them because of the way they carry themselves, the way they treat others, and the authenticity in their presence. Respect is felt, not forced. The mistake many make is confusing fear with respect. Fear might make people follow rules, obey orders, or stay silent, but it never creates loyalty. The moment fear disappears, so does compliance. Respect, on the other hand, builds connection. It makes people want to listen, want to follow, and want to give their best. Fear is temporary, respect is enduring. Respect is earned through small, consistent choices. It's in keeping your promises when no one is watching. It's in listening without interrupting, even when you think you already know the answer. It's in treating the person who can do nothing for you with the same kindness you show someone who could change your life. Those moments, often unnoticed, are where respect quietly begins to grow. And here's the paradox: the people who try hardest to demand respect often get the least of it. Why? Because respect resists force. It's like trust. The more you try to control it, the faster it slips away. Respect is drawn to authenticity. When people see that you stand by your values, that your words align with your actions, that you don't need to prove your worth, they naturally give you what you're not even asking for. Look back on the people in your life you genuinely respect. Chances are it's not because they had authority over you. It's because of how they made you feel, how they treated you, and how they lived their values. Respect is a mirror. It reflects back the energy you project. Show dignity and you'll receive it. Show arrogance and you'll lose it. When we begin to see respect not as something we demand, but as something we earn through consistent behavior, everything shifts. The conversation is no longer about who has the most power, but about who has the most character. Because at the end of the day, respect doesn't come from a title on your door. It comes from the story your actions tell every single day. There's a simple truth that often gets overlooked when you say you'll do something. People are listening more closely than you think. Every promise, every commitment, every casual, "I'll call you back," is a test of reliability. And reliability is the foundation of respect. When people know they can count on your word, they begin to see you as trustworthy, credible, and dependable. Think about how quickly trust is lost when someone breaks a promise. It doesn't take much: a missed deadline, a forgotten favor, a repeated excuse. Each time it happens, it chips away at the relationship over time. It becomes harder to believe anything that person says. On the other hand, when someone consistently follows through, even on the smallest things, their credibility grows. You start to trust them instinctively. Keeping your word doesn't mean you never make mistakes. Life happens. Circumstances change. But the difference between respected people and everyone else is how they handle those moments. They don't hide behind excuses or shift blame. They acknowledge when they've fallen short, they communicate honestly, and they do everything they can to make it right. That kind of accountability only deepens respect. There's also a deeper layer here. Keeping your word isn't just about others. It's also about yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your own confidence and discipline. If you say you're going to wake up early, and you do, you build self-respect. If you commit to a goal and you keep showing up, you reinforce your own identity as someone who can be counted on. Respect starts within and then extends outward. In a world full of broken promises, whether in politics, business, or personal relationships, reliability stands out like a lighthouse. People are drawn to those they can trust because trust brings stability. It allows teams to function smoothly, friendships to deepen, and communities to thrive. Reliability isn't flashy. It's not about big dramatic gestures. It's about showing up consistently, day after day. Keeping your word also builds authority without arrogance. When people know you mean what you say, you don't have to raise your voice or push for attention. Your credibility speaks louder than volume ever could. You don't need to demand respect. It's given you naturally because your actions prove you're someone worth listening to. And here's the interesting thing, people remember the smallest commitments more than the big ones. Returning a call when you said you would, being on time for a meeting, following up after a conversation. These details may seem trivial, but they're not. They signal to others that you value them, that you honor your word, and that you take responsibility seriously. At its core, keeping your word is not about perfection, it's about integrity. It's about aligning what you say with what you do consistently enough that people never have to second guess your intentions. When your reliability becomes predictable, respect follows naturally and trust becomes almost effortless. Listening is one of the most underrated habits in earning respect. Most people enter conversations with the goal of replying, not understanding. They're already crafting their next sentence while the other person is still speaking. But when you shift from listening to respond to listening to understand, something powerful happens. People feel valued, and respect begins to form. There's a deep human need to be heard. Not agreed with, not fixed, not judged, simply heard. When someone leans in, maintains eye contact, and gives you their undivided attention, it communicates something rare, that your thoughts matter. In a world where distractions are constant and attention is fragmented, the gift of full presence stands out like a beacon. Think about the last time someone truly listened to you. They didn't interrupt, they didn't rush, they didn't dismiss your point of view. Instead, they created space for your words. How did that make you feel? Probably respected, appreciated, and even more open to their perspective afterward. That's the paradox of listening. The more you listen, the more people want to hear what you have to say. Listening is also a sign of humility. It shows that you don't assume you have all the answers, that you're willing to learn, to consider, to adapt. People respect leaders, colleagues, and friends who approach conversations with curiosity rather than ego. When you ask thoughtful questions and genuinely absorb the answers, you signal that the other person's experience has value. It's easy to underestimate how listening shapes influence. In business, the most respected negotiators and leaders aren't the ones who dominate the room. They're the ones who listen carefully, pick up on unspoken cues, and respond with clarity. In personal relationships, listening builds intimacy. It turns casual conversations into meaningful connections because the other person feels truly seen. Listening more than you speak also protects you from misunderstandings. So many conflicts arise not because people disagree, but because they never really listen to each other in the first place. When you give someone space to fully express themselves, you often uncover the real issue beneath the surface. Respect grows when people feel that you're not just hearing their words, but grasping their intentions. The irony is that people often believe speaking more makes them appear smarter or more authoritative. But it's usually the opposite. The more you talk, the more room there is to dilute your credibility. The more you listen, the more carefully your words are chosen, and the more impact they carry. Silence, paired with attentive listening, can command more respect than constant talking ever could. At its heart, listening is about presence. It's about setting aside your phone, your thoughts, your agenda, and giving someone the rare experience of being fully heard. And when people walk away from a conversation feeling valued, they carry that respect for you forward, not because of what you said, but because of how deeply you listened. Humility is often misunderstood. Many people confuse it with weakness or lack of confidence, but in truth, humility is a quiet strength. It's the ability to stand tall without needing to stand over others. When you carry yourself with humility, people respect you not because you demand attention, but because your presence feels genuine and grounded. Confidence is attractive, but arrogance pushes people away. The line between the two lies in humility. Confident people know their worth, but they don't need to remind everyone of it. Arrogant people, on the other hand, constantly seek validation. They talk more about themselves than they listen, and they create distance rather than connection. Humility bridges that gap by showing confidence without self-importance. Consider the leaders you've admired most. Chances are they weren't the ones shouting about their accomplishments. They were the ones who celebrated others, gave credit where it was due, and acknowledged that they didn't have all the answers. That willingness to share the spotlight, to admit mistakes, and to keep learning is what makes humility magnetic. Humility also communicates security. When you don't feel the need to prove yourself at every turn, people sense stability in you. It shows that you're comfortable in your own skin, that you can hold both strengths and flaws without needing to hide either. That kind of self-assurance commands respect far more than bravado ever could. Carrying yourself with humility doesn't mean shrinking back or diminishing your achievements. It means letting your work, your actions, and your character speak louder than your ego. It means acknowledging your role in success, but also recognizing the contributions of others along the way. People admire those who lift others up instead of elevating only themselves. There's also a relational side to humility. When you treat everyone, regardless of status, position, or background, with the same respect, you send a powerful message that no one is beneath you. Small gestures like remembering a name, saying thank you, or seeking input from those who often go unnoticed reveal a kind of leadership that people naturally admire. Humility creates space for growth. Arrogance assumes you've already arrived, but humility keeps you curious, open, and willing to evolve. People respect those who don't pretend to be perfect, but instead show the courage to learn and improve. In a world where many mask their insecurities with arrogance, humility is refreshingly authentic. At its core, humility is balance. It's the blend of confidence and grace, of knowing your worth without diminishing others. When you carry yourself with humility, you don't just earn respect, you inspire it, because you show that true strength doesn't come from being above people, but from standing with them. The way you speak often determines how people see you long before they know your full story. Words are more than just information. They are signals of confidence, intent, and respect. When you speak with clarity and conviction, people don't just hear your words, they feel your presence. Communication is not only about what you say, but also about how you say it. Clarity is powerful because it eliminates doubt. When your words are simple, precise, and direct, you leave no room for confusion. People respect those who can express complex ideas in ways that are easy to understand. Overcomplicating things often comes across as insecurity, as if someone is trying too hard to prove they're intelligent. True mastery is being able to make the complicated feel simple. Conviction, on the other hand, is what gives your words weight. It's not about volume or force, but about belief. When you truly believe what you're saying, people can sense it. They lean in because your energy makes your message credible. Even if they don't agree with you, they respect the sincerity with which you speak. Conviction shows that your words are anchored in values, not just convenience. Think about the most memorable speeches you've heard. They weren't powerful because of fancy vocabulary or perfect grammar. They were powerful because the speaker's words were clear, their voice steady, and their conviction undeniable. When people sense that your words come from a place of authenticity, they remember them long after the moment has passed. Speaking with clarity and conviction also requires listening first. When you understand your audience, their concerns, their hopes, their challenges, your words become sharper and more relevant. Respect grows when people feel that you're not just talking at them, but speaking to them. The best communicators know that connection begins with empathy. Clarity also demands honesty. When you're transparent, when you admit what you know and what you don't, people respect your integrity. Overpromising or hiding behind jargon erodes credibility quickly. Speaking clearly doesn't mean you always have the answers. It means you're courageous enough to be real. Conviction is strengthened by consistency. If your words and actions don't align, people stop listening. When you say one thing and do another, conviction turns into empty noise. But when your communication reflects the way you live, your words carry authority. Respect isn't just given to great speakers. It's given to those whose lives reinforce their message. At its heart, speaking with clarity and conviction is about responsibility. Every time you open your mouth, you have the power to inspire, to mislead, to uplift, or to discourage. People respect those who use their voice with intention, not to dominate a conversation, but to bring meaning, direction, and truth into it. The true test of character is how you treat people who can do nothing for you. Title, status, and influence may change the way the world interacts with someone, but dignity should never depend on those things. When you treat everyone with the same respect, from the executive in the corner office to the janitor cleaning the floor, you reveal a depth of integrity that people can't help but admire. Respect given freely is contagious. When you extend dignity to others without calculation or expectation, it changes the atmosphere around you. People feel safer, more valued, and more willing to contribute. In teams, it fosters collaboration. In friendships, it deepens trust. In communities, it builds unity. The way you treat others sets the tone for how they treat each other. Equal dignity means seeing the person before the position. It means recognizing that every individual has worth, regardless of background, education, or wealth. When you pause to greet someone, to listen to their perspective, or to acknowledge their contribution, you affirm their humanity. And nothing earns respect faster than making people feel seen. Think about the leaders who left the greatest impression on you. Chances are, it wasn't their speeches or strategies you remember most. It was the way they treated people. It was their ability to give attention to the quietest voice in the room, or to extend kindness when it wasn't required. Those moments become stories people retell. Because dignity leaves a lasting mark, there's also a ripple effect in treating people equally. When someone experiences respect, they're more likely to pass it on. Conversely, when people are dismissed or belittled, they often carry that wound forward. By treating everyone with equal dignity, you not only shape how people perceive you, but you influence the culture around you. This habit also dismantles arrogance. It's easy to respect those above us and overlook those we think are below us, but that reveals more about us than about them. True strength lies in consistency, showing the same courtesy to a stranger as you would to someone you admire. People respect fairness, and fairness begins with dignity. Treating people with equal dignity doesn't mean you'll agree with everyone or approve of everything they do. It means you separate the person from the disagreement. You can challenge ideas without demeaning the individual behind them. This ability to balance conviction with respect elevates conversations and creates space for genuine dialogue. At its core, giving respect freely reflects an understanding of our shared humanity. No one loses by showing dignity, but everyone gains when it's present. And in the long run, people don't remember how much power you had or how much wealth you accumulated. They remember how you made them feel, and dignity is what makes that memory a good one. Respect rarely stays contained within a single interaction. Like a stone dropped into water, it ripples outward, touching more people than you realize. One person choosing to act with respect can shift the tone of an entire room. One moment of kindness, patience, or acknowledgement can alter the way a team functions or how a community relates to each other. Every group has an unspoken culture, and that culture is shaped by the behavior people witness. When someone models respect consistently, others begin to mirror it. It becomes the standard rather than the exception. Over time, this creates an environment where people feel valued, safe, and motivated to bring their best. That's the ripple effect, respect multiplying through influence. Think of the difference between a leader who listens with empathy and one who dismisses ideas without consideration. The first creates a culture of openness, where people feel encouraged to contribute. The second creates a culture of fear, where silence becomes the norm. The behavior of one individual sets the rhythm for everyone else to follow, whether they realize it or not. Respect also ripples in everyday interactions. When someone holds the door, acknowledges a cashier, or thanks a colleague, it might seem small, but it sets off a chain reaction. The person who feels respected is more likely to pass it on, creating a loop of positive behavior. Disrespect works the same way, but in the opposite direction, it spreads quickly, draining trust and morale. This ripple effect is especially visible in teams. A single act of recognition or fairness can lift the entire group, while a single moment of arrogance can fracture it. People take cues from each other, and if respect is shown by even one member consistently, it challenges others to rise to the same standard. That influence can transform not just relationships, but results. Communities are built on these ripples. Traditions of kindness, fairness, and mutual regard don't appear overnight. They are cultivated by individuals making respectful choices day after day. Whether in families, workplaces, or neighborhoods, respect spreads when it's practiced openly and authentically. One person can start a pattern that outlives them. The ripple effect also reminds us of responsibility. Every word we speak and every action we take contributes to the culture around us. We don't always control the environments we step into, but we can always influence them. By choosing respect, we set in motion something bigger than ourselves, something others will feel and respond to. At its heart, the ripple effect of respect is proof that small actions are never insignificant. What begins as a single choice, to listen, to acknowledge, to treat someone with dignity, doesn't stop with that person. It moves outward, shaping conversations, teams, and communities in ways we may never fully see. Legacy is not built in the grand moments we often imagine. It is built in the everyday habits that accumulate over time. The way you treat people in passing, the promises you keep, the respect you show, these are the details that linger in memory long after words are forgotten. Respect is one of the few things that can outlast you, because people carry it with them when they recall who you were. Think about the people who left an impression on your life. Chances are, you don't remember every conversation or every detail about them. What you do remember is how they made you feel. If they respected you, if they treated you with kindness, if they lived with integrity, those habits became their legacy in your mind. Respect is not a single act, it's the pattern that defines a person's story. Habits of respect are powerful because they build consistency. A single moment of courtesy is nice, but a lifetime of treating people with dignity is unforgettable. Over time, those repeated actions form a reputation. Not the one written in resumes or accolades, but the one whispered in hallways and shared around dinner tables. That reputation becomes the true measure of a legacy. Legacy is not just about personal memory, it spreads through influence. When someone lives with respect as a guiding principle, others are inspired to do the same. Their example shapes how people behave long after they're gone. In this way, habits don't just define how you're remembered, they define the standards others will carry forward. Respect as legacy also challenges the idea that success alone leaves an impact. Achievements may fade, titles may be forgotten, but character leaves a deeper imprint. The colleague who always honored their word, the leader who gave credit generously, the friend who listened without judgment, their habits live on in stories retold across generations. Respect doesn't expire with time, it endures because it's tied to human connection. There's a humility in realizing that people won't remember every detail of what you did, but they will remember the way you made them feel. That understanding shifts the focus from chasing recognition to cultivating respect. It encourages consistency because every moment becomes part of a larger legacy. Each interaction is a chance to add another brushstroke to the portrait others will one day recall. Habits also matter because they don't require an audience. You don't build a legacy of respect by acting differently when the spotlight is on you. You build it in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when you choose to honor your word, when you show kindness without expecting anything back. Those small choices become the threads that weave together a life defined by respect. At its core, respect as legacy is about realizing that the story people tell about you is written not by grand declarations, but by daily actions. The way you live, consistently, authentically, respectfully, becomes the version of you that lives on in memory, shaping not just how you're remembered, but how others choose to live after you.